where I draw the line is fuck around and find out.
Boundaries, not binaries. That's
That's the title. Can you message that to me? Boundaries, not
yeah,
binaries.
yeah.
I feel like we shouldn't be living for too much else besides joy. I think people need to work towards feeling joy more often in their lives.
Mhm.
Because when we're not there's so much stuff going on right now. There's always going to be stuff going on in one's
Mhm.
life. There's always going to be battles. There's always going to be competition of some sort. But I
Mhm.
think leaving that to the outside and creating a boundary between that competition, the outside competition and the outside, struggles and the rat race and everything, and inside being a place of peace and joy,
Mhm.
I think that balance is really, really important when it seems like this rat race or the competition is the default.
And we're shifting to a period where it won't be. I'll say this: the rat race of the world will always exist, right? Like I call myself an optimistic realist. Like I like to hope for the best, but I'm very much aware of the reality of the world. And I like
Mm-hmm.
to think there'll be a utopia. I wouldn't call it a utopia because utopia is not actually possible, but I like to think there could exist a world where we've eradicated all of these like harmful and negative like attributes of life, like competition and working until we die and living for the gratification of other people. Like I and money and like all these like I truly believe that there will exist a world like that. I just think it's going to take a extremely long time, several lifetimes. um but in saying all that, the rat race of the world will always exist, but the more we learn to find that inner peace and that balance within us and not pay attention to what the world is doing, the faster that time will come.
Mm-hmm.
If people stop giving so much of their energy and their lives to a world that does not care, and they start giving all that energy to themselves and start focusing on what makes them happy, we can reach peace. Yes, I need to work for money, but I also work because I love what I do. Money will come, everything else will come. But when I go to work, I go because I love my kids. I love teaching them. I love watching them grow. I had a kid say hi today. He's never spoken an actual word in our class other than like mumbling stuff and crying. And he said hi. And I'm like, look at you, little rock star.
Go,
Like,
little rock
rock.
star. Wait a
Like
second, you're not on TikTok, are you?
I'm not on TikTok, but I'm on Twitter, and Twitter does enough.
You've seen the Go Little. Okay.
But yeah, like I don't work for money, and I think that's been so interesting as I'm like trying to figure out my life and I'm trying to build wealth. Like that's an active thing of my life. And part of being part of this rat race is that like, I kind of need money to survive. Okay, I accept that. Um, so like in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I need money. I need stable income, yada yada yada. But inside, I'm like, what am I going to give my energy to? What am I going to wake up and give my physical, mental, and emotional energy to for most of my day? You have to do it for the true reasons in order for the worldly reasons to follow. If you do it for the worldly reasons, you're not going to get what you think you're going to get.
Right.
You're working for money and you're just out there hustling for money. You're not going to get the money you think you should be getting. It may feel like it, but no, because you're chasing after something that always disappears.
Well, also, even if you do get the money, it's going to be, I guess it depends on what kind of person you are. But if you're working so hard for money, right? And you're putting all of this work that takes energy out of you, by the time you wind up spending the money, you will be fully spent. You're spending all of yourself for half of the money that your
Mm-hmm.
joy is worth.
I'm gonna write that down real quick. You're spending all of you said all of your energy or all of yourself
Okay,
for
you're
half
spending all of yourself for half of the money that your joy alone is worth.
yourself. Say it again.
You're spending all of yourself for half
There we go.
of the money
That your joy is worth.
that your joy is worth, yeah.
I love that.
And that's just your joy. I mean, we're not even talking about like all the other stuff that make you you.
Mm-hmm. But
Like
let's talk about it.
we're in an era in capitalism where the person, people are attempting to devalue the human being,
Mm.
even though the human being invented capitalism. So human beings are trying to devalue other human beings is basically what it is.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. Human beings are trying to lower the dollar value of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Of your
you
worth, of
have
your
to,
skill, your
exactly, you have to work harder to defend the value that you put on yourself.
it's why so many people are like starting their own businesses and quitting jobs left and right. Like I've had this feeling of like, why are so many people like trying to start up their small businesses? And like everyone can't be a business owner. But you make a really good point is that like when you live in a society that literally devalues you and everything you do, what else can you do but then say, okay, well, I'm going to be my own boss
But
because
also, it's
I
just like,
value me.
it's a way of saying, oh, well, let's see what the citizens think about my
Exactly.
value. And then they vote with their money. And then they show. So many people have businesses because so many people have shown with their dollar that this
What
person
they
has
think of
value,
how
that
they
the business.
value.
Exactly. And it's because now it's almost changing the financial world into more of a democratic
Mm.
situation. It's making it more of a democracy in that way when a bunch of people have a bunch of business. You get to have this sort of democratic outcome where people are pretty much voting for a person's existence with their dollar. There are people who get paid to just whisper on a microphone, to play video games. And there are people who attributed value to that. There are people who say, this helps me go to sleep at night, or this entertains me, or I love how angry this guy gets when he loses the game. So I'm going to send him money. I'm going to send her money. I'm going to send them money.
Yeah.
Right? And that's like voting with that dollar amount. Like I'm not being like a promoter of any one system. I'm just kind of observing what's happening and kind of understanding the progression of things. It makes sense
Mm.
to me that people would want to start their own businesses because they're finding that it's easier for them to get a community of people to sustain their life than it is for a powerful company to care whether or not they have time for a bathroom break. I mean, there is some type of like bureaucratic element to big companies where it seems like there's no democratic process as to who gets money based on the work that they do. It's decided by, people who are more powerful than them, and that's a select few. But when you own your own business, you're literally letting the people vote on that.
Mm.
Look, it's like I alone am trying to do this thing so that I can live. Do you second that notion of me living? and their
Mm.
money will tell you. And people are paying for this. I actually absorb a lot of ASMR content. It helps me sleep. Like that has value.
I I wonder, to go back to humans devaluing other humans, right? Like I hate to bring Black Mirror up, but like what happens
Oh my
when,
god, are you going to mention Nosedive?
well, that wasn't even the one I was thinking. I was thinking of
The merits episode?
the merits.
The
Yes.
merits episode. That's a good.
Yes.
Oh,